of being vain and how that can prevent you from developing your personal brand. So we're going to let just maybe 30 seconds get some more people in here if they're interested in the discussion. So if you have questions about marketing, sales, or leadership for attorneys, if you have a question about if you're a law student or you're an undergrad and you have a question about how to become an attorney or what an attorney does, if you are a young lawyer and you want to be mentored and you have a question about something that's going on in your law practice, or perhaps you just have a question about how to succeed as a young lawyer, I'm here for you as well. So welcome to everybody who is joining me today. Great to see everyone. Just going to set up Instagram and we will be all set up. All right. So welcome in, everybody. So hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Dave Scriven-Young, an attorney from Chicago, Illinois, and I'll be your host. This podcast takes you on a daily journey to discover key principles in the areas of marketing, sales, and leadership for attorneys. And as a reminder, I go live every day at 8 a.m. Central on social media. I'm at Attorney DSY to discuss the material for today, answer questions, and mentor young lawyers. Right now, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. So I hope you enjoy the discussion. And please, if you have questions as we go along, please put them in the chat. Would love to have this discussion with you. So today's topic is the fear of seeming vain. So again, our textbook for today is Gary Vaynerchuk's Crushing It. And for people who are just developing their personal brand, we have a lot of fears. And one of them is the fear of seeming vain, meaning, why are people even going to care about me? Do I think that I'm, so important that I'm, such a big shot that I should be going live, every morning to talk about various subjects? And as Gary Vee, as he says in his book, is he just glorifying narcissism? And that's a really great question, because I think, when you hear about sort of the criticisms of people on social media, it's like, well, I don't really care what you had for breakfast, or I don't really care that you did certain things. Like, you think you're so important, but you're just such a big shot, but you're actually not. So we're going to go over 5 ways of how to get over that fear of seeming narcissistic, that fear of seeming vain. So the first one is to embrace it. Embrace that. Yeah, you may be a little vain. And it's because people who develop strong personal brands succeed more often than people who don't. So if you, and I think there's a healthy amount of vanity that I think has to come into play in the discussion, right? You could not do anything and you could have no goals at all, and you could feel like, well, you know what, I'm just going to live life, and whatever comes my way, but I'm not even going to really try. That's certainly one way of living through life. Another way of living through life is thinking that, you were put on this earth for a reason, that you have goals that you want to achieve, and you should go for it, right? And so that's what, I think that there should be a healthy amount of vanity, because that's the only way you're going to, reach your goals. If you want to be, so this is a podcast for lawyers, and really for anyone who wants to succeed. But if you're someone who wants to be a rainmaker, someone who, wants to, go into business, who wants to have a great business, you have to have a certain amount of vanity, because otherwise you wouldn't go for it. You probably wouldn't be watching or listening to this podcast if you didn't have, some healthy amount, at least, of vanity. So that's number one. Number two is, maybe it's just you. You're going to feel weird about going live on Facebook. You're going to feel weird about having a camera pointed at you. Right now I'm literally, talking into a microphone and looking into a little dot on my laptop camera, talking to all of you. So yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little odd. I mean, we weren't, built to interact like this. One of the things that I do in the Lawyers Emotional Intelligence Book Club every Wednesday night is, we're talking about stress, and in not this upcoming week, but this upcoming week, we're going to be talking about, the fear of technology, or not the fear of technology, but how technology can stress us out. Excuse me. And one of the things that Dr. Chatterjee talks about in the stress solution is that we weren't really made. We were made to have to live in these tribes and to have face to face interactions. And one of the things that one of the ways that social media stresses us out is that just like this, like I'm talking to a camera, I'm not talking to a real human being. And anyone who is keyboard warrior can come on to my comments and try to screw things up and try to be a hater. But and that's part of the weird thing about social media, right? But you will get used to it to a certain extent. And remember, as you're doing it, you're going to learn more. You're going to learn more and more, and you are developing great skills that you need as a lawyer, because everyone who is a lawyer communicates in one shape or form. If maybe you're just a brief writer, or you're an appellate brief writer, or you do a lot of discovery. Yeah, I mean, if then maybe you should write a blog or do something in written format. If you're a trial lawyer, or some other oral advocate, maybe you do appellate arguments, or maybe you specialize in trials and the like. Well, then this is a great way to practice your communication, your oral and verbal communication skills as well. So these are all things that you need as a lawyer. And by the way, if you really think about it, when you get into uh, the fact that a lot of our hearings and a lot of our depositions and the like are going to now be done by Zoom, the ability to talk into a little dot on a camera is going to come into. It's really going to be helpful to know how to do that, and to not be shy, and how to present yourself, and exactly where to look and that sort of thing. All that's going to come in handy when you do your first trial by Zoom. So in other words, I think, yeah, I mean, all of this is kind of weird. It's a little odd, but it's going to help you in the long run develop the skills that you need. And also, it's going to help you develop your personal brand, right? It's going to help you to get eyeballs for your website, or for your social media accounts, or for you, so people can see, wow, he's a pretty articulate guy. He's a guy that knows what he's talking about. He's building this practice. It's a guy that I'm really interested in working with. Or, hey, that lady seems to really know what she's talking about. She really presents herself well. She really cares about, seems to care about the issues that I care about. I'd love to work with her. So, this is definitely one way to do it. There are lots of other ways to market your practice, and we're going to go through those as we go along. But building your personal brand nowadays is a great way to do it. So number 3, the third way to get over your fear of seeming vain, is that you have to get over the fact that you might be scared. So yeah, I mean, it's a little frightening going on, doing a podcast every day, now coming online to do this, video chat with people. It's a little frightening to go on every Wednesday night to do, what I do, but it takes a lot of courage, and you get that pit in your stomach, like, what's going to happen today, because you never know what's going to happen with the technology. When you have a guest, you never know what your guest is going to say. You never know in the middle of a video cast if someone's going to make a noise in the house, or whatever, right? So it's a little scary, but you really, I mean, one of the great analogies that Gary Vee talks about in this book, Crushing It, is, you really have to jump into the pool in order to learn how to swim. At some point, you can watch videos on it. You can, take classroom classes about it. You can try on your bathing suit, but you're not going to be able to do it unless you actually jump in and do it. And he had a great quote in this part of the book where he says, "Find your courage and strengthen your self-esteem until you feel brave enough to make some noise and invite people's attention. Then show them you care deeply about keeping it." So it's a great sort of 3-step way to build your brand. So first of all, you got to find your courage and strengthen your self-esteem. So that's kind of like the beginning part of it. So that's like you coming online for the first time, your first YouTube video, your first video chat, your first live stream. You're building up your courage, you're building up your self-esteem. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be terrible the first couple of times. I know mine, were, but you're going to build up your courage and self-esteem. And then you're going to be brave enough to make some noise and invite people's attention. So that's the second step. So maybe you're going to do things like, like I did. I did a call to action for people who, I wanted to come on the podcast and be a guest either on the Legal Power Players or for Lawyers Emotional Intelligence. So I'm looking for that. I asked people to submit comments and to leave voicemails for the podcast. So that's another great way to do that as well. And then show them you care deeply about keeping it. So it's all about passion, right? So you have to show them that, yes, now that I have your attention, I care about you. And then you go forward with it and you do great things. So that's why, I particularly call out the fact that I want to, mentor young lawyers. If people have questions about, becoming a lawyer and that sort of thing, I really care about making sure that you understand what it is, how to be successful, things to watch out for, building relationships and all that. And so, yeah, so that's really a great 3-step process to get over the fact that you're scared. Is that, yeah, it's going to be tough in the beginning, but as you go along, there's this process where you're really going to start connecting with people. Number 4, the 4th step of getting over your fear of seeming vain is to remember that you're a pioneer. Not a lot of lawyers do what Gary Vee suggests in his book and what I do. I do consider myself a little bit of a pioneer. I mean, I think the lawyer marketing online trend started with having a blog and a website. Those were the 2 things that, definitely a website I think was number 1, right? Everyone had a website. And then number 2 was, and it's still kind of pioneering. It's funny to hear about it, but it's been going on for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, is to have a blog about a specific practice area, right? So that's like along the time that I started the Illinois Environmental Law blog, right? So I had this niche practice and I saw all these other people writing blogs, and it was something that I wanted to try. And so that's sort of been like the second step. And now the third step is really using social media to connect with an audience and build your personal brand. So, you see some people doing it. Some of my friends on Instagram have started, doing live streams and the like. Some people have, started doing Q&As on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, if you get on it now, you are still pretty much a pioneer. And of course, there's plenty of room for you to be, one of the first and to succeed by using social media to build your personal brand. And then the 5th way to get over the fact that you may feel or seem vain is that just remember that you're inspiring and mentoring others. So, so many people talk about how can you find a mentor. And it's funny that, for me, a lot of my mentors actually were people that I found online and are not lawyers, by the way. So I found people like Gary Vaynerchuk. I found Grant Cardone. I found Seth Godin. I found Tony Robbins. I found people who I could connect with because I resonated with their story. All of those people I just mentioned, by the way, except for Seth Godin, I'm not quite sure what his story is, but Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and Grant Cardone, they all came from nothing. Grant Cardone was, lived in Louisiana, was a drug addict, and basically came from one parent household after his father died young, and made his way up. Gary Vee was a immigrant from the former Soviet Union, came over to this country with nothing, until his father basically rose up and bought or started a liquor store, like a mom and pop liquor store that now Gary Vee took over in terms of the marketing, made it very successful, and then now is doing his own thing with a digital marketing agency and his own personal brand. Tony Robbins, if you listen to some of his tapes, it's about how he basically came from nothing. I mean, he had nothing. I mean, I remember one story that he always tells is, he was a janitor, and one of the things that he did was, while he was a janitor, he would listen to motivational tapes, and it's such a great and interesting way to go about it. And all of these people came from nothing, and now they're household names because they built their own personal brands and monetized it. So even if we're not having a one-on-one discussion, it's certainly something that hopefully I'm inspiring people, but it's something that you can do as well. You can inspire people, you can mentor people through whatever you do online. So as we wrap up, we've talked about a lot of fears, about why it's tough to build a personal brand, but I hope you realize that there's really no reason why you can't do this, and to achieve the goals that you want in life. So it was great talking to everybody. Hope everyone has a great Sunday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central for the Lawyer Lifestyle Podcast.